Hello, and very warm welcome to everyone to this Sangha Live session and this last session of this week with me, Nathan Glyde, and our ongoing exploration of what opens up when we notice the imprint of vedanā, very subtle imprint on our experience that we can expand into freedom. As always, there's a very pleasant vedanā that comes up stepping into these sessions, and that feeling of seeing you through the chat, feeling your warmth, your friendliness, and the pleasantness of the strength of Sangha that is generated here over the years that these sessions have been running. And I hope also if you're stepping in, and this is maybe your first week or even first time altogether, you really feel that sense of welcome, that sense of community, and the blessings of being together in this way. So if you haven't already, really feel invited to wish well, to say hello, to share your kindness. The chat itself can become a kind of metta practice, loving kindness, as it's often translated as practice. Enjoy that, benefit from that, and support it if you wish. So yeah, it's the last session of this week, and shortly I'll share a reflection that is another dimension on possibly getting close to endless avenues that this vedanā teaching opens. And I definitely don't feel like we've covered all of the areas, and I'm holding myself back from like, what about this, or what about this, like a excited child in a toy shop or something along those lines. But it is a beautiful teaching, however we take it on the first days. Maybe the recordings from that will never appear, unfortunately. There's a certain vedanā with that, but we can work with that. We started with kind of something equanimous, something peaceful in relationship to the arising of vedanā. We're not going into battle, we're not trying to fix, we're not trying to get rid of it. And then, changing our ways of relating in more kind and open, creative, getting interested in what's delightful rather than the next thing I want to get, being supportive and compassionate towards that which appears as unpleasant, painful, and bringing our interest and inquisitiveness. It's like, what am I not noticing? What am I not noticing? So those who are not so familiar, the vedanā teaching is the instantaneous categorization. And we're noticing that. The teaching is saying, notice it. Notice that instantaneous categorization of this is pleasant, this is unpleasant, this isn't really worth paying attention to. And inquire into it. Open practices from that that can allow us to more deeply, more creatively, more effectively support our experience towards freedom and well-being. So I'll share a little reflection about this. We'll bring it into a nice meditation together where any of those ideas will make so much more sense once we're experiencing them directly. When there is anything, it feels some way to someone. That's us. When there's anything, it feels some way to someone. And we're not here to get rid of vedanā. Yeah. We don't actually get rid of vedanā until there is nothing else there. There is no something appearing to someone. Yeah. And that's a particular type of experience referred to as nibbana, the fading of all things. And that opens out a possibility. One, we could go there. We could learn to train. And this is part of what the teachings are suggesting, is you can go there. You can have an experience that is really not defined as an experience at all. And at that point, you won't have Vedana because you won't have any appearance according to there would also be no sense of me being there, experiencing. But we can actually move along that line. If you were here yesterday or earlier in the week, I think you'll notice that we actually generated freedom. Freedom from demand. Yeah, letting things quieten down. And yeah, hopefully it felt nice, it felt pleasant, it felt satisfying, it felt happiness in a sense, which is a vedanā again. Yeah, so it's a subtler type of experiencing. So someone's mentioning they're having some trouble, that the signal is buffering or something like this. If others are experiencing that, let us know in the chat and we'll deal with that. Yeah. And we can enjoy that. Yeah, as we said, the experience happens, and if it's pleasant, we can enjoy it. We might feel that urge to grab on, to get more. Yeah. And we can go even subtler, demanding even less. And slowly everything starts to fade, the demand, the phenomena, and with it, our sense of self. Our sense of self actually is nothing other than the felt sense of the activity we express. And notice we're not planning on getting rid of this either. Yeah, the sense of self lightens, the sense of phenomena, the sense of demand, the activity, all of that. Yeah. And we can really celebrate anything that feels delightful. So yeah, those who are having a struggle, maybe just pop out, pop back in, fingers crossed. This is recording today, so if you miss anything, you'll also be able to catch up. We don't want to make a problem of the wrong thing. Yeah. And we can feel like, oh, vedanas are dictating, they're telling me to do this, they're creating demands, therefore I need to get rid of vedanas. We can get a little bit extreme in that way at times. You might notice our relationship to thinking and meditating. So I sit there and somehow the idea I shouldn't be thinking arises to us, and then we find ourselves thinking because we are thinking beings. Yeah. We find that our mind wanders and we think my mind shouldn't wander, it should just stay with this object. We have a push pin, a thumbtack that just sticks attention to a breath and it stays there. And we can have this kind of fantasy, like that would be good. Thankfully, we're not in charge, and probably it wouldn't be that good. We need to be intelligent about thinking. Yeah, we don't want to just on, off kind of thing. The discernment that's necessary to know thought from no thought is a kind of thinking, it's a kind of discernment thinking. Yeah. Essentially, when it comes to thinking, it's confusion with thinking that is the problematic element, that our thinking and us become confused, fused together, inseparable, until they're separated. All of a sudden, the mind self-liberates. Time and time again, we say, I'm thinking. Then we go into another train of thinking, I shouldn't be thinking, why is this happening to me? You know this unfolding. It's a pleasant moment when we defuse from confusion as a pleasant, subtle vedana. It can be beautiful to keep that situation defused for as long as possible. In a sense, again, thoughts are not the problem. Remember the relationship advice. Yeah, we talked about the Buddha giving relationship advice. How are we relating to that thinking? A similar impression comes in with, I feel the weightiness of my self-view, and we seek absolute freedom from that. I don't want to be with myself. I don't want to be myself. Who doesn't want that? It's like another self turns up to rule the anti-self movement. And we have this self-defeating principle that's going on, this antagonism. And we might even gain that impression from certain teachers and the language that they use. The self is an illusion. You have to see through that. Personally, I think they shouldn't be so personal, picking on the self in this way. Everything's illusory. Everything's an appearance. in consciousness dependently arising, vedana too, an appearance when we notice it, and a way that creates the impression of reality. So the idea in these teachings related to Vedana, we can transfer it to thoughts, we can transfer it to self and other areas where we get a little bit extreme in our relationship. Can we have freedom with? Freedom with, way more powerful than freedom from. And we have this capacity to quieten, to expand, to embody, to release, according to wisdom, according to well-being, according to practicing for the well-being of everyone. Getting rid of Vedanas is like just chopping off one end of a stick, saying, well, I don't want the right end of the stick. You know, I only want the left end of the stick. And now I've got my stick that's all made up of left side, except it's not. It's still half left, half right, right? These things dependently arise. And if we're trying to only get rid of the unpleasant Vedanas in our life, you know, we're going to be in a tangle. As the Tao Te Ching says, when people see some things as beautiful, other things become ugly. Ugly, beautiful, they don't exist independently. When people see some things as good, other things become bad. Yeah, they could have extended when see some things as pleasant, some things become unpleasant. And some things become neither. So hopefully we just have this sense, it's like, okay, this is about relating well. And I think a really important part of our path is a freedom that comes from not believing the boundaries it resets moment to moment. I remember a time, it was quite a long time ago, maybe 20 years ago, I was doing some standing meditation in Bodh Gaya, the place of the Buddha's awakening, as it happens. That wasn't relevant to the story. And I was doing this standing meditation. I decided to play a game. I was going to stand in front of this tree and see if I could stay standing for longer than it could. Very just silly game. I like to play silly games in my meditation. They keep my mind entertained, my humor near the top of my experience. After a while, some voice inside of me started saying, just stop it now. This is silly. It's not very nice. But actually, my legs are strong. My will was also strong, and this screaming inside, stop, just kind of kept going, and then at a certain point, I just said, just a little bit longer, okay? And I think that this sense of something inside of me, and this sense of self, and this sense of Vedana, and the whole fusion, I don't like this, I don't want this, suddenly just popped. I wasn't causing any harm, but actually progressing slowly to the kind of refuted no man's land of like, this isn't something you can do. And I was like, well, I don't know what I can do yet. So those inner definitions, peacefulness came through. Completely different Vedana of the experience by not believing it. By not believing it. And I'm not saying do endurance meditations, this is the conclusion. Something like boredom is the same game. The experience of radical calm, no demand on me to be anywhere else, stuff. And I start saying, oh, I don't want boredom. Oh no, I absolutely refuse boredom. It has the most unpleasant of unpleasant Vedanas. I'm afraid of boredom. Fear escalates Vedana. But what is boredom? You become interested in it. You bring in that thing. You could even just know the game, flip it on its head and say, I want to be the most bored anyone has ever been. Withdraws that activity, it questions that Vedana, and it opens again incredible peace that was blocked by the aversion activity. And so the Vedana itself is a very, very interesting thing that arises, and it starts to refine and define who I am. And we can kind of notice this flowing its way through, how identified we can be with our preferences for this over that, how we feel, oh, well, I don't do that, I don't do this, you know. Sometimes I'm talking to people and they're saying, oh, I'm so tired in my meditations, I keep dropping off to sleep. But I'm actually not tired, I'm sleeping well, I'm well rested. So, have you tried standing meditation? Oh, no, I don't do that. I don't do that. It's very, very unpleasant. So it's not. It's not inherently unpleasant. Try it. It's probably a lot nicer than this falling asleep thing that's going on. Yeah. We can dive into seeing that, oh, well, this gives rise to the self is empty, it doesn't really exist, the whole illusion part there. But I actually think there's something more accessible, more relevant, actually joyously inconclusive in questioning, oh, what if I don't follow that? What if I don't follow that? And this is the teaching of freedom with, which is a wise and appropriate response to life. You know, many of us would have had the experience of needing to take eye drops. And we know that what's about to come, this eye wash in the eye, is going to be very, very pleasant. Yeah. It's going to soothe. Maybe it's going to get that speck of dust out of the eye, or just kind of give them a rinse if you've got dry eye syndrome or anything like this. It's so hard to open up and stare into this drop that's going to land and cause such relief. Overruling the Vedana at certain times is so difficult, so difficult. Last night I visited a Palestinian friend, and he very kindly brought some dates, fresh dates from the freezer. Quite amazing. I think eating this date, moment by moment, enjoying the Vedana, delighting in the experience. And just as I was popping the last piece of this date, feeling very, very satisfied, my mind started thinking, oh, maybe I should have another one of these. Maybe I should have another one of these, yeah? And I realized I cannot enjoy the rest of this date while thinking about having another one. Yeah. And just playing in that way is like, no, I'm with this one now. The next one, maybe it's going to happen, maybe it's not. I'm not sure. And then staying with that, enjoying, satisfying, letting it melt. Really, really important for us to step into our experience. Hopefully, shortly, I'll be involved in a engagement retreat where we'll be bringing Israelis into Palestine to meet their brothers and sisters that they don't get to meet. And they will have to face, you know, very strong Vedana, the unpleasantness of fear. Yeah. Which is, as Lizzie's questioning there in the chat, is like basically fear is an unpleasant Vedana, but it's also an unpleasant projection onto experience, and it escalates the unpleasantness of the Vedana. It causes the contraction that escalates all of that. But those who've been with us before, quite likely at this point in time, cannot wait to go. There's often so much in common that actually transcends even like our connection to families and friends, that love of peace, those deep conversations that are open and available, the welcome that we receive when we go there. And you know, that's part of what it is to unfold and move, you know, transcend this freedom with a Vedana, not believing it fully, not needing to get rid of it, but actually needing to align ourselves with what is beautiful. On the 9th of December, we're going to have a Sacred Places retreat, and it lives up to its name. It's an engagement retreat where we go out and we pick up litter. What is the Vedana of picking up a piece of litter? For many of us, it's unpleasant. Yeah. And because we walk past litter so much, it's actually refining and defining our sense of self. Yeah. I'm too busy to pick up litter. That's the kind of self-image I live by, I give off. But when you stop and you do it for the well-being of all beings, I'm doing this for the hedgehogs, for the squirrels, for the birds, for the fish, for the big blue whales in the ocean where there are so much rubbish. I'm ready to stop and pick it up. The humility, perhaps, the beauty of that. softens and subtleizes the sense of self and gives us such a delightful experience, because in the activity is where we occur. The Vedana of picking up litter turns on its head and it becomes like a treasure hunt, where we get to give ourselves that blessing of that beautiful transcendent experience. And when the rubbish runs out, or that place that you knew that everybody always throws it has none, there's kind of a sadness of not having that opportunity. Underneath the thises and the that's, the grabbings and the pushings and the pullings, maybe what the Dharma says is true, that underneath all of that is a natural goodness that just wants to come through. And when we can quieten our reactivity, the miracle of more love, more beauty, more delight comes through. I'd like to suggest some ways that we can bring that into our practice today, by lessening our reactivity, opening our possibility, and changing our activity. So if you feel ready, find a comfortable position for the body. Letting the belly soften, that maybe is hardened in worry and concern. Allowing that face to ease. Knowing we don't have to figure it all out before it's time. Maybe we can support a very beautiful breath. Maybe it's a bit longer or a bit deeper. Every breath is nourishing. But this one, we can feel it nourish. Down into the deep depths of the belly. Or if we prefer, opening not to the body but to the sounds, wherever it is. Open out there, as if every sound is welcome to come alive and disappear in this body heart. Take some time getting to know gently our lived experience. softening into this moment. Don't need to get rid of anything. Don't even need to rush back to the breath. Breath's already here. We diffuse from what we were maybe fused with, confused with. Getting to know the direct experience, softening into it, listening into it. May need to increase the amount of interest we have if the mind is pulling us places. It can be helpful to drop in little challenges. Hey mind, can you be with 3 breaths in a row, just noticing all patterns of the arising and filling and softening, emptying out. You never have to give up. We may have to change our tactics. Cultivating interest, not focus, not pressure. This is interesting. Maybe we just don't know how or why yet. We open the gift of the present, but we're not yet fully in. And if that was nice, how about another 3? Or the equivalent of the sounds. If you need a more involved game, how about 3 breaths where we really feel the in-breath and let the out-breath happen by itself? And then 3 with the out-breath, letting the in-breath just happen by itself. And then 3 with the in and the out and all the gaps between. 3 of 3. No counting involved. It's the first, the last, or the middle. Before we know it, we've had a deeply mindful couple of minutes. Repeat that a few times and you'll start to settle in. Noticing the Vedana of this present moment. There's still plenty of time in this meditation. How does that sound? Oh no. Oh, great. Be seen from the perspective of, oh, great. Rich with opportunities where we can really unbind, where we can become boundless, subtle, delighted. Nothing inherently has a Vedana from its own side. Depends on the mood. Depends on the idea. What's it like to see the opportunity in the challenge? Not be who we thought we were. Not be so easily defined. And not let anything that appears be believed in that first impression, Vedana, it comes with. Softening into this present experience. Times in our meditation, we might experience an inner narration that declares, oh, that's it, that's enough. We can use our Vedana practice to disbelieve the definition of my capacity. with gentleness, with curiosity, and with a deeper care than is normally there, and deeper than that definition. Oh, I can be with this. I just need maybe to soften, open, have a deep, nourishing breath, a wider way of listening. I invite you to practice that really encourages us to meet all vedanas with a curiosity that deeply penetrates their apparent reality to something beyond. This practice is called "Don't Scratch the Itch." An itch can arise, it can seem unpleasant, but it's not unpleasant, it's just a bit of pressure, a bit of movement. You can soften around it. If you want the advanced practice, it can be don't swallow the saliva, don't fidget, just to see who do we become if we don't follow these directives. Sense of self is activity. But if I don't act that way, if you're in pain, please move. But if it's not that bad, let's not believe it. If you're doing this don't scratch the itch practice, there's some variations. You can just station yourself at an itch, be declaring this is not unpleasant. It's not unpleasant. Just as yesterday we were saying this is not able to cause dissatisfaction or satisfaction. This is not unpleasant. What is this? What is this? And if that's a bit too extreme for the way you're feeling right now, what about opening the space wider and wider around that apparent itch or condition that demands activity until you find a space where it's not unpleasant, not something we can't tolerate. And from there, just radiate in the general direction, sense of kindness and care. The kindly softening and expanding around what appears to be a problem. Or kindly refuting the declaration of this Vedana. Getting to know is there anything underneath. Is there a beautiful freedom just beyond reactivity? Noticing for the last time the vedanā of this moment. Notice the urge that may come with that to grab or reject. Or imagine that it's not worthy of our interest and care. Not be defined or directed by that subtle opinion. Taking a moment of gratitude for what you've cultivated within you. You're already beginning to radiate from you. May our practice be for the welfare and benefit of all beings everywhere, including ourselves, and so much more. So inviting you to begin to transition, moving the body, opening out the sense doors, to be receiving our existence. Hopefully still supporting, cultivating a sense of what's possible for us. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your practice. And thank you to Sangha Life for inviting us to be here together, and for all the work and effort and the continuity of all of that goes on in the background to allow us to be here. And many have called this day, Dana Day, the last day of the week. Of course, many of you may have been giving your support earlier in the week and may already be giving ongoing support as a regular basis. All of those ways are invaluable to support these teachings and practices and this whole platform to be here and unfold in this way. And it's really freely offered, and my time is part of that, and donations which are given up until the end of today will will be shared with me. Donations after that time will be shared with whoever is the next teacher, the next person there. So if you are able to give today and you want to support myself as well as the Sangha Live team and the platform and everything here, then please do that. Next week it's going to be Zohar, so that's my partner. Very happy that she'll be sharing with you about wholehearted presence, something I think that she embodies in a very beautiful way. And if you've enjoyed these teachings and practices, you might like to have a little look at the website I've just put in the chat there, dependentorigination.org events. A couple of things which you might find interesting is the Sacred Places event at Sangha Seva, which is coming up on December the 9th, where we're engaging with our environment in a meditative way as community, as Sangha, and Sangha that gets involved and engaged into experience. Beautiful thing. We also have drop-in groups exploring the deeper end of these teachings, and also how we can apply them to life, shaping the world. And I also want you to know that there is the possibility of doing this Being Peace retreat without coming to Israel. And there's an evening at the end of October where you can meet a student from Gaza which would be a lovely thing to do. So all of that is available. Please support yourselves, and when you can, support others, and when you can, support Sangha Live. So it looks like maybe we have a couple of people interested in coming on screen. And right, am I doing that, or George, are you doing that? Let's see. Lizzie as well is interested, so sorry, I haven't remembered how to do this bit. If someone wants to put it in the chat to tell me, or Clive has to click the raise hand icon. Yeah, Clive's clicked the raise hand icon. In participants. Okay, invite co-host is the way. Let's write Clive there. Invite to stage. Yeah, I think I found it. Okay, Clive, you're here. I can hear you.
I can't see where to. Maybe. How's that? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, yes. Do you hear me?
Yeah, certainly hear you. Okay. I think I'm on.
Yeah.
So, assuming I'm on, my question is, so I get that the Vedana, the description of Vedana is niceness opinion. When it's about something like, I don't know, eating chocolate cake, for instance, or a breath, or these kinds of experiences or phenomena, which might be, could be neutral, could be nice, could be pleasant, could be unpleasant. The thing that's coming up for me is, what about, so my experience, part of my experience is I'm living with a family member who occasionally sets out to be deliberately unpleasant. And your definition of Vedana is that it's not inherent in itself.
Yeah.
So if I'm finding that person unpleasant, and after the event, when things have calmed down, the person says, yeah, I was being deliberately unpleasant, then isn't that inherently something to do with that person?
Great. Yeah, lovely question. So yeah, so basically, no, it's still not inherent in that thing, because if for example, why are they being unpleasant? That they're actually being unpleasant perhaps to draw your attention, because they understand our negativity bias and they want that loving connection from you, but they're going about it the wrong way. This happens to us internally a lot of the time. Like when our mind says to us, hey, stop with that breathing stuff that's soothing and regulating and easing and open your experience. Have a thought about this horrible old memory from the past, right? It actually has a very good intention there, but it's going about things the wrong way. And we as human beings are often doing that, but it still doesn't mean that the mind doing that is inherently unpleasant. And if we think it is, then we'll probably react against the mind and want to stop, its activity, and then we're in this war situation. So the thing is that it arises dependent upon, a lot of causes and conditions. It can be that it's someone's intention to be unpleasant, and they know us well enough to be able to get in there and actually create for us an unpleasant situation. But it still doesn't mean that there isn't another way for you to see it that way. And you could see this is a call for help. This is a call for help. And I meet that from a compassionate point of view. They're giving me an invitation to expand, to stretch who I think I am. Yeah. And I can meet it from there. And I can tune into something that this experience is obscuring, which is we are here in the face of death, of pain, and we're together in this. And so it then changes, and we can turn a challenge into an opportunity to open, to flourish, to find beautiful ways of being. There are Vedanas that we can see through very easily. Chocolate cake, for some of us, just see it's like, actually, it's not. That's just a bundle of fat and sugar. Interpersonal human relationships demand to take that conviction that we build up on the simpler things like chocolate cake and to say, even here, I'm going to say, I don't fully believe that this is unpleasant. I'm feeling myself contracting and reacting and all of that. That's pretty unpleasant. And I can soften and I can open that. I notice my train of thinking and my ideation and fixation on this person becoming a fixed thing and a problem in my life. And I can soften that and remember, no, they're a beautiful person that probably later is going to apologize for acting this way. So there's always different ways of relating. And when we change those different ways of relating, we will start to notice that Vedana shifts. And if it shifts one molecule or one fraction of the dial along there, we see that it's not inherently existing. It's impacted by how I relate to it. And I hope that helps to start making this a little bit more relevant. But I also notice we haven't got an enormous amount of time, so I can't go a lot further than that. But does that start to at least crack open the box a little bit?
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Not sure how to go, but try and leave.
No, but I also don't know how to do that. Feel free to stay there, and I'll just wrap up from there. So yeah, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for all the support that you give, and thank you, Glyde, for this question. And I look forward to further explorations here. But the fundamental idea here is, for today, can we find a freedom that doesn't add new layers of reactivity, and we get to see the possibility for opening out our experience in more and more wonderful ways. Yeah. And yes, it's not always going to be easy. And there was this other question about Vedana and depression. And, hopefully these teachings open up a sense of possibility for us. And as much as they can do that, I hope that it's helpful. But it's not always easy. So take care, and hope to see you again before too long. Look after yourself and those around you.